Hello, little bookworms. Welcome back to Fritz's Bed Storytime. Today we'll be continuing the Who Was Ben Franklin series. We will be starting on Chapter 3.
Chapter 3 Runaway. Ben left home and went to work in his brother's shop. James taught him how to set type. Ben was a fast learner and was soon printing booklets and songs. As the master, James had to pay for his apprentice's food and lodging. Ben moved in with a family. James's other apprentices lived there too. James paid the family to provide Ben with meals and a bed. Ben thought of a way to raise some cash. He proposed a deal. James should stop paying the family to feed Ben. Instead, James should give Ben the meal money. Ben would feed himself on just half the money James had been paying the family for his meals. Ben asked only one thing. Any meal money he didn't spend, he could keep. James agreed to the deal. The young apprentice found a book on cooking with vegetables. He stopped eating meat. He lived on rice, boiled potatoes, and a cornmeal mush called hasty pudding. To his brother's surprise, Ben was able to save part of his meal money. He spent it on books. Ben liked to read poetry. He decided to write a few poems of his own. In November 1718, the pirate known as Blackbeard was killed. Ben wrote a poem about it that began, "Will you hear of a bloody battle, lately fought upon the seas? Oh, make your ears rattle, and your admiration seize." James printed Ben's poems. He sent Ben out into the streets to sell them. Ben's poem about a drowning became very popular. It was called The Lighthouse Tragedy. Soon the people of Boston were talking about the 12-year-old poet. Another of Ben's jobs was to help print the Boston Gazette. It was one of America's first newspapers. Then, in 1721, James began his own paper, the New England Courant. Ben printed the Courant and delivered copies to customers. Ben enjoyed the work, but his brother was a harsh master. James wanted to show his other apprentices that he did not favor Ben. When Ben made mistakes, James beat him. Ben would then talk back. James would only beat him some more. Around April Fool's Day of 1722, Ben decided to play a trick on his brother. He began writing funny articles about life in Boston. He didn't sign them with his own name. Instead, he made up a woman's name, Silence Do Good. Late that night, Ben slipped the articles under the door of the print shop. James found them. He liked Silence Do Good's articles so much that he printed them in the Courant. They appeared for half a year. People in Boston wondered, who was Silence Do Good? Ben even heard James talking about silence with his friends. Finally, in the fall of 1722, Ben revealed the truth. He was Silence Do Good. Most readers laughed, but James was angry at being fooled. Meanwhile, James Franklin was in trouble. He criticized the English officials who ran Massachusetts. His writings in the Courant landed him in jail for a month. That didn't stop James. In the early 1723, an order was issued. James Franklin could no longer print the New England Courant. James thought of a way to get around the order. He would list his 17-year-old brother, Ben, as the Courant's publisher, but secretly James would still tell Ben what to do. What if James was asked how an apprentice could run the paper? He had an answer for that too. James drew up the paper saying that Ben had finished his apprenticeship and now was on his own. But James also made secret papers. These said that Ben must be his apprentice for 4 more years. The scheme worked for a while. The problem was that Ben wanted to really be a publisher. He felt that he could run the paper, and he didn't like serving as his brother's puppet. The two of them fought for more than ever. James's way to settle things was to beat Ben. There came a day where James hit him once too often. Ben decided to run away. A runaway apprentice could be punished if he was caught. But Ben figured his brother wouldn't come after him. If James tried to catch him, Ben might reveal the scheme of running the newspaper. James could end up in jail again. A friend of Ben's helped him stow away on a ship. In the fall of 1723, Ben boarded the ship with just a few coins in his pocket. 3 days later, he was in New York City, 200 miles from home.